salatu wassalamu ala khatamil anbiya wal mursalin Muhammadin sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As you know, Ramadan is long over, right? And in Ramadan, we know that we had so much, alhamdulillah, this from Allah gave us this energy, right? I don't know how we did it, right? Fasting, and then at night, and rushing to the mosque, and then pray until a certain time, and go back. Well, perhaps we sleep or not sleep, and all this, and wake up and to start all over again. And obviously, alhamdulillah, in that month, we have built, inshallah, this ability to reach taqwa, right? But as you know, right, we are humans. So we do have this inclination, right, to be lazy, to always find excuses not to obey Allah. And this is how we are as a human, right? So let us not be or take the footsteps of Iblis, right? What did Iblis do? Because Iblis was so pious, right? And he was so pious. If you read some of the narrators, they were they said how he was even selected by Allah, chosen by Allah to be one of the guardians of paradise. That shows how high his state of piety is. There's a big however, right? With some people, right, this state of righteousness comes arrogance. And that is, for me personally, that is we have completely no knowledge, then you are arrogant. If you know about the stars, there's a one fine day, inshallah. In some of the lessons, we're going to talk about this Sahaba more. But no, I'm not talking about the main Sahaba. I'm talking about other Sahaba that we have not mentioned before, and other TABI'EEN, right? We're going to talk a little bit about Hasan Al Basri, inshallah. Because when you look at the life, you can see Islam from their looks and from their behavior. Islam is there, you can see completely. And the more knowledge you have of the deen, the more we are unsure about our deeds, whether our deeds are accepted or not. And the more we are humble, if you look at like Abu Bakr anhu, right? If there is one person announced that this person will not enter Jannah, Abu Bakr would be the first one who think that he's the one. Look at Umar ibn Khattab anhu, when the list of hypocrites came out, he was the first one who demanded from the Sahaba, tell me who is in the list, am I in the list or not? And this is the quality of Sahaba, and we should have this quality, because the more iman and the more knowledge we have of the deen, the more we scrutinize in ourselves, the more we are more worried what they are judging. It is those people with completely no knowledge or think they have a lot of knowledge, that they will be like Iblis. That because Iblis was one who he was so arrogant. I'm reached certain stage. What is this new creation, right? And why should I bow down to this new creation of Allah? Forgetting that the one who ordered him to bow down is none other than Allah Himself. The fact that you refuse to bow down to Allah, to Adam, and refuse to obey Allah itself, right, is a huge defect in your faith and in your sense of God consciousness or taqwa to Allah. And this is that we all of us, we do need to dissociate ourselves from this attitude of Iblis, who with taqwa comes arrogance, and with arrogance comes disobedience. And this is how it is, because you think that you know a lot. And that's why some of those, sorry to say, some, especially the younger people, the youngsters, just because you know a few hadith, just because you know a few of the Quranic verses, then you are criticizing those who are not putting are not wearing trousers who are of a 3/4 length. And you think that you are the one who have shuyukhs. And you have to understand, right, that some people have different kinds of understanding of certain principles, right? And this is how all of us go through different phases in life. It's interesting. Some people go through, and I myself went to this so-called super Salafi phase, and everybody's wrong except me. And then you start to modify and learn and have more knowledge, and then you start to think, and you start to, have more wisdom in terms of your understanding of the deen. And this is how the Sahaba and the Tabi'een was. By the way, I made a mistake yesterday. Hasan Al Basri was not a Sahaba, because subhanallah, the way he say things and the way he articulate things, I thought he was a Sahaba, but he is not. He's a TABI'EEN, right? He was born after Muhammad has passed away, right? But that was my mistake. But it is important. The scholars always say the way he say things and put things is as if he's a Sahaba, right? As if he was also a prophet, right? Some of them say, not he's a prophet, but as if the way he put things. So this is how, inshallah, when we go through the stories of the prophets, of the Sahaba and the Tabi'een, we can see how much Islam is in them, is in the epitome of Islam. It can be seen very clearly in it. And subhanallah, we do need to understand that you cannot, how should I put it? You cannot define Islam as, okay, I want to follow this sheikh. This is complete epitome of Islam. Only the one who followed him will be the one who will be saved. It's not like that. Islam is so wide that you and I should understand that even among the Tabi'een themselves, right? They have different personalities. Islam doesn't mean to really conform you to this strict narrow path that if you go here and there you will be led astray. It's not, right? You can see, for example, Hasan Al Basri was so serious and he looked so sad as if somebody passed away, right? Whereas another Tabi'een, right? He would always make fun. Well, I wouldn't say make fun, but he was quite fed up of people who ask stupid questions, right? For example, one of the people asked him a question of, did Shaitan marry somebody? And some people ask this question. You see, not just them. Some people ask questions that completely has no relevance whether they marry or not. What difference does it make in terms of your belief, right? And this person, Tabi'in, answered very clearly, saying that, well, if he was married, or if there was a wedding ceremony, obviously I wasn't invited. So he was making fun of these kind of stupid questions, right? Another person was asking questions. Oh, in a state of ihram. Ihram means a state when you are in your performing umrah, right? You are in a purified state where certain conditions are not, you are not allowed to, for example, wear perfumes and all this, right? So this person was asking this question like, am I allowed to scratch? Right? Yes, you're not allowed to scratch. And then he asks further questions. That question is okay, right? He asks, how much can I scratch? And it's quite irritating question, right? And he asks, well, you can scratch so much until you can see your bones. Okay, then you can stop, right? So these are the things in which some questions are really irritating because they are not relevant to be answered in a sense, right? So that some of the Sahaba make jokes regarding these questions, right? But Hasan Al Basri is a bit different. He's quite very serious, very somber, and this is how it is. So you can see all this lifestyle or the principles or the personalities of these Tabi'een and even the Sahaba, they were very different, right? And it relates to the time of the people. So we do need to really understand about the ability for us to know that Islam itself has a lot of layers, right? Just because you like this sheikh doesn't mean that, if anybody who, even this, I've seen, right? People challenge me in the sense that asking me about which sheikh do you follow, right? This is applicable to the super Salafi people, right? Saying, which sheikh do you follow? So I said, no, I don't follow any sheikh. I just follow the Quran and Sunnah. And if I have questions, I ask around people who are more knowledgeable. And the fact is, I do not follow the sheikh of the Salaf and all this. That means my teaching is wrong. And this is how narrow-minded some people are. And this is how we should really study sometimes the lifestyle of these Sahaba and the Tabi'een in order to really fall in love with Islam, because sometimes the things that they do, the things that they feel in the heart, the things that they sacrifice, makes you wonder, is my Islam enough? And this is sometimes when you read the stories of the Sahaba and all this, it's amazing stories that we should go one day we did before, maybe about at least 10 years ago. I did the stories of the Sahaba and all this, right? I think Brother Farid may remember, right? We went through all these different Sahaba, but I think we have to go through again, inshallah, and especially coming with the Tabi'een, right? When we study the lifestyle of Ibn Taymiyyah, for example, Ibn Kathir and all this, it's very inspirational how much Islam is in them. You see, some people are so, for me personally, right? Some people are too bogged down in these technicalities. It must be this, must be this. And then when it comes to the crux of Islam itself, it's completely not there. What do I mean by this, right? Okay, don't be offended, right? And I'm going to be blatantly truthful. You are so concerned with being in the mosque. You're so concerned with your dressing, must wear thobe, must wear this. You are so concerned with your trousers must be above the ankle, right? But once come to the crux of, for example, right, taking benefits and all this, right? You don't care, right? You think that, okay, it's my entitlement, I can do whatever I want. And some of them are having all these cheatings and lyings, or because you have to be declare about your wealth and all this, isn't it true, before you can claim benefits, whether you have any property. Sometimes they have properties in overseas, they never declare, right? They have houses here and they hid from everybody, as if on the day of judgment you won't be accountable to Allah on the day of judgment. And this is very important. This is so fundamental that we do need to really come back to this in order for all of us to really understand Islam. Islam is not just about prayer, it's not just about salah, it's about fasting, about siyam, it's not just about your hajj, it's everything that we do. This is Islam, isn't it? It's a way of life, right? And it is something in which we do need to understand. This is what Islam is all about, right? You can't compartmentalize Islam. Okay, this is Islam. This one, not really, right? I can do whatever I want, right? Everything will be accountable to Allah on the day of judgment, right? So we do need to, inshallah, remind each other, right? And this is about taqwa, isn't it true, right? Just as a reminder, because today's topic is about how Hasan Al Basri, right? What is his secret? People were asking him, what is your secret of your piety? What is it that you have, right? That will, inshallah, remind us, about taqwa, about piety, and all this, right? So let us remind ourselves first, right? How do you define taqwa again? Anybody?
Repeat the question, Ustad.
I'm sorry?
Is that the question? How do you define taqwa?
How do you define taqwa? Because, in the Quran, I mean, many verses also, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullah, right? Haqqa tuqati and all this. Wala tamutuna illa wa antum muslimun. So, many verses. In fact, if you want to know the recipe for a successful marriage in Islam, is it love?
Taqwa. Yes.
It's taqwa. Because Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned 3 verses in the Quran during his marriage sermon. It all involves taqwa. Of course, love is important, but not as important as taqwa itself. Because when you have taqwa, love comes in, inshallah. Isn't it true? Right? That is why, for example, I'm sure you heard about this story of this very ugly Sahaba, right? I can't remember his name, all right? But I know he's short and ugly, but Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam loved him a lot, right? So he was, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam knocked on the door. So he wanted to get married. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam knocked on the door of a potential woman whom Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam thought they would make a good couple, right? So Knock on the door, right? Parents opened the door, the girl's parents, and he said, "Oh, is your daughter taken?" So the parents were so happy. They thought that Muhammad SAW wanted to marry her. Then, oh, I remember the name. Alhamdulillah. It's called Julayba, right? Radallahu anhu, right? So she said, Sallallahu, it's not for me, it's for Julayba. Then the face completely dropped, the parents. For Julayba? And then they said, okay, we have to think about it. Now, the daughter, upon hearing this, was completely upset. Of course, she knew everybody knows who Julayba was at that time, right? And she said, if the Prophet wanted me to marry Julayba, then this is a person for me, right? And this shows we discussed yesterday, right, in our tafsir class in surah number 3, right? In verse number 31, 32, isn't it true, right? 3:31, 32, yeah. قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهُ وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ وَاللَّهُ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Right? Say, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, say, right? If you really love Allah, then follow me, right? Allah will love you and will forgive you of your sins, and Allah is often forgiving, the most merciful. قُلْ أَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَالرَّسُولَ فَإِن تَوَلَّوْا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْكَافِرِينَ. Say, obey Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But if they turn away, then Allah does not like the disbelievers. So obviously, if you know the Quran well, whatever the Prophet ﷺ recommend is always good, right? And the daughter is very beautiful, sought after woman in that community, and she wanted to obey the Prophet ﷺ, and she told the parents, "I want to marry him," and true enough, they got married. And this shows the taqwa that you have, right? And with that taqwa comes love, of course, subhanallah, right? And this is very important for all of us to understand. Okay, so the question was, what does taqwa mean, brothers?
The consciousness of Allah.
Yeah, so God consciousness. Can we elaborate? There are a few things that you do need to understand, because I understand, I'm sure, right? You will want to do da'wah to your families, you want to do da'wah to your friends, perhaps, right? And this must be completely understood, right? What are the things that you know about definitions of taqwa?
There's one scholar that gave a quote. It said, Taqwa is like you're treading on the path and there's thorns.
It's not a scholar, right? It's from Umar ibn Khattab anhu, right?
Yeah.
But before we go through that, right? Taqwa has been defined that you love Allah so much that you always want to obey Allah at all times, in all matters, not picking and choosing, right? At the same time, you fear Allah so much that you will always want to prevent yourself from disobeying Allah in all matters, not picking and choosing, right? So this is quite important definition that you and I must understand, right? To know that it's not up to you and me to decide, well, this is, I want to obey this one I do not want to obey. And this is what happened with the Christians, with the Jews and Bani Israel, isn't it true, right? They did this, they pick and choose, and Allah warned them in the Quran about how they will face disgrace in their life in this world, and in the hereafter they will be consigned to the most grievous torment in Surah number 2, verse number 85, right? We discussed this many times. So this is how it is, that at all things we try to obey Allah. That's why for me personally, right, let me be honest with you, right? In my work as a solicitor, as a human rights and immigration solicitor, I knew when people start to lie, right, regarding the immigration status. I knew, right? That's why I refuse now to take asylum cases, because all asylum cases, well, not all, majority of asylum cases are not true. They just want to remain in this country because they want to earn some money, not because they face persecution. There might be a few, So this is the thing, that if I'm in charge of this, the case, then I must know that, well, at the end of the day, my responsibility, it is to Allah, not to not to the client, not to anybody else, because on the day of judgment, I'll be responsible for everything, right? And this is how you develop yourself, right? If you're an accountant, if you are you are a builder, right? You have a contract and all this, so you do need to ensure that this is, you do your work as best as you possibly can, right? You don't do a slipshod building job and hide this, hide that, and all this, and just paint over it and assuming that it's okay, right? And this is what taqwa is all about, right? Again, it's not just about to pray on time. It's not about to have khushu'. It's everything in life, right? As Brother Mansur was saying, Umar ibn Khattab anhu asked the person, another Sahaba called Ka'ab, about what is taqwa? Explain to me. So Ka'ab was asking Umar ibn Khattab back, so how do you do, right? What do you feel when if you were to walk from one place to another, there's a lot of thorns on the ground. What would you do, right? Because in those days they were wearing thobe, isn't it true, right? I would lift up my thobe, I will tread carefully so that I do not hit my foot on the thorns until I reach the other side. This is a perfect explanation about taqwa, because in every aspect of our life, brothers, you and I know, there's always a decision, right? Even to eat, should I eat it at this restaurant? The food is so nice, a lot of nice review, but it's HFA, and you know me, is this my opinion, of course, right? HFA is not halal for me, right? Because they stun the chickens, right? Or the worst thing, right? There's not even a halal sign, right? And then because there's so much good reviews, you want to eat from this the restaurant and all this, and then you have to really think carefully, right? Whether at the end of the day that you have to bear the consequences, right? Remember, if any one of us were to consume haram food, or for example, earn haram income. So you want to open a restaurant, and in the end you want to sell alcohol and all this, because this is where you think that your provisions or your risk comes from this alcohol, right? What is the first of all, right, haram income and haram food? What is the consequence of in your terms of your deeds and all this, brothers?
They become void.
It's not your deeds become void, but your dua will not be accepted.
Yes.
Right? But we're dealing with alcohol is different story altogether. What happened in your dua?
It's it doesn't get accepted for 40 days, is it?
For 40 days, right? So even more, right? So this is how it is, right? Every step of your life, you think in accordance to the Quran and according to authentic hadith, right? What happened if somebody wanted to come to me in terms of, okay, can you help me? I want to, a man come to me, for example, right? Can you help me? I want to marry my husband. What would I do? What would you do? Sorry, right, brothers?
Sorry.
Sofyan?
Help me.
Oh, I know, Sofyan was asking a question.
Sorry.
Okay, the question was, right? This is what taqwa, right? What happened if a man came to me and told me, I want you to help me because I want to marry my husband? What would you do? Tell me.
Ustad, did you just say a man with a husband?
Yes.
Whoa.
What would you do? Because it's your job, no?
I would embarrass them. I don't know. If I was self-employed, it would be different.
It doesn't matter, but it's employed. What do you mean?
Huh?
So you are telling me, right? If you're an employee, you would do it, isn't it true?
Well, if I was no, if it was if I was an employee, I would
No, I know you'd be different, right? But if you're an employee, if I employ or somebody employ you to work, you're paid.
yeah.
That means you
I know.
will
That's what I'm saying.
conduct this. You will represent the person in immigration, isn't it true? Husband and
Sorry,
husband.
you're
Oh, for
asking me
goodness sake,
difficult questions.
don't do this. I don't know what happened. What is this? Tell me. Tell me.
Yeah. So if I was working for myself, I would straight on violate them. But if if I was getting paid, like you said,
Yes.
I'll try escalate the situation like by I don't know saying I'm busy or I don't know. I would try my best not to take that case. So I would no way get two men together. No way.
Okay. Mansoor?
Is it a Muslim?
It doesn't matter, isn't it?
Stop it.
I'm just saying, I would have advised them, innit? This is not the way of the sunnah, innit? Yeah.
What is it? Let me know. Yes or no?
I wouldn't know. I would say, so that's not my. I don't believe in. I would respectfully say I don't believe.
Oh, you have to be very careful, right? Because in this country, right, you will be accused of homophobia and all these kind of things, right?
But I'll say in a respectful way, isn't it?
But again, when you refuse, the first thing that you need to remember, why do you refuse? Because you look in the Quran, right? You look in Surah number 5, and you look in Surah number 2, right? In the last part, Surah number 2, right? وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ. Alright? وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ. Have taqwa to Allah. إِنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ. Right? What does it mean? Right? This last bit of Surah number 5, verse number 2. Help one another in albir, which means righteousness, and taqwa. But do not help one another in sins and transgressions. And have taqwa to Allah. Verily Allah is severe in punishment. When you look at this verse, I mean, I'm sure it brings a lot of, it's a warning sign from Allah, right? Any one of us who help anybody, we're not scared of the law, of course, in the land, right? But of course, we need to play smart, and we do need to say something. As I think Elmi was saying, oh, I'm quite busy in all this, right? Please refer to somebody else, right? Something like that. As long as you don't handle it, because it's very important, right? That we understand what is taqwa all about, right? For a question.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's different for someone. Like, let's say, for example, in Albania, it's much more different. Like, if someone's gay, they would just, I don't know what happened to them. Maybe die or.
We are not in Albania, isn't it true?
No,
UK.
I know. But if someone was
Exactly.
new and then came to work here, the way they would react is no way like.
Yeah, it's
even
different.
Me in school, even me in school, when I came first in year 7.
Yeah, you told me all the stories about your violence.
No, I wouldn't be violent because they were bigger, but all those.
It is,
like,
but you have to understand, right? We don't hate these people. We hate their actions, right? There's a lot of difference, right? So we still want them to know about the deen, about the taqwa, about and all this, of course. Right? Very, very important that we don't. This is how we can talk about different.
So if you hate them, is wrong.
Right? Sorry.
If you hate them, is wrong.
No, you hate them for the sake of Allah, of course. Hate the actions, not hate
the actions, not the people. No.
Yeah, because how can you explain? You remember one of the Sahaba called Abu Sufyan, right? Yeah. He entered Islam so late. In the meantime, in all the battles, he killed all these Sahaba, you know. So in a sense that he did, and remember the person who killed, was it Hind? right? The person who killed, the woman who killed the Prophet's uncle, right? The Prophet's uncle was a very amazing person that Muhammad SAW loved so much, right? And she became Islam eventually, right? So in a sense that, and that was why you and I, if you were to be in a Muhammad SAW position about being thrown by the rocks, immediately when the angels offer us, do you want me to destroy? Yes, destroy them immediately. They hurt me and all this. Isn't it true? But Muhammad SAW is different, right? He was very patient. He said perhaps they would become Muslims, and they did become Muslims, right? So this is how, in a sense, that we do need to know, have a little bit perspective, because some of the brothers said they were reverts and all this. I mean, if you would not perhaps, who is here, for example, Sofyan, Farid, right? If you have been shown bad examples by the Muslims, perhaps you will not be a Muslim, right? So how we treat the non-Muslims are quite, whether they are homosexuals, it's quite important that we have this. We don't love them, of course, but we have to understand that guidance is from Allah eventually. Okay. Now let's come back to the issues quickly, right? So the important topic for today, right? Okay, before that, right? Just tell me about taqwa, right? We talk about definitions of taqwa. Why is taqwa so important, brothers? According to the Quran.
To differentiate, according to the Quran.
Sorry.
According to the Quran, you said.
Yes.
Don't know any ayah. No,
it doesn't matter. What?
Well, I think it's just because you have to know what's haram, what's not, and basically live upon Allah's way.
Yeah, so the consequence of taqwa is, for example, right? Allah will be with them. So for in Surah number 2, verse 194, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الْمُتَّقِينَ. Right? Have taqwa to Allah and know that Allah is with the taqwa. Right? Another excellence of taqwa is that Allah would love them. Right? In Surah number 3, verse number 76, بَلَا مَنْ أَوْفَى بِعَهْدِهِ وَاتَّقَى فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُتَّقِينَ. Whoever fulfills his pledge and have taqwa to Allah, Allah loves those who are al-muttaqun. Right? Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum, Surah number 49, verse number 13. Allah will honor those people with taqwa. Right? And we know we always ask these questions, right? In Surah number 8, verse number 29, right? About those with taqwa will be granted furqan, right? Ability to differentiate the truth and the falsehood. So many examples and verses in the Quran in which Allah will be with people taqwa. So taqwa is very, very important, absolutely important. But always remember, right? We are not dead yet, right? And we need to worship Allah until we die. And it's very important, right? And that is why we need to, even the Ramadan is over, right? Shaitan is back in full force, right? We may wake up late for Fajr and all this, but we need to keep a certain level of taqwa in order to last, inshallah, until our death, right? So Hasan Al Basri was asked this important question, right? Again, we talked about Hasan Al Basri. He was the TABI'EEN, right? Not the Sahaba, the TABI'EEN. And he was one of the greatest scholars. We're going to talk about his life, inshallah, soon, right? I think it's important for all of us to understand the life of some tabi'in, some sahaba, in order for us to really motivate ourselves, right? All of us need some motivations. We don't need examples from celebrities, from the influencers to be a good Muslim. We need the examples from the proper sahaba, tabi'in, in order to, inshallah, motivate us. Okay. So this is important, right? Because he was asked, what is the secret of your piety? What is the secret of your piety? Hasan Al Basri said, I understood 4 things. And this is very important, brothers. If you understand this, inshallah, you will understand what is taqwa. If you fail to understand this, for sure, right, you will have a lot of, I would say, lapse in your ability to obey Allah. You have a lot of gaps, right, in terms of obedience to Allah. Okay, so the first thing, and this is important, very interesting, right? Because sometimes when I look at things, I analyze what comes first. What is the secret of this taqwa? The first one, I understood that my rizq, my sustenance, cannot be taken by anyone else. So my heart is content. Why is the risk more important than other things? What do you think? What didn't he mention about good deeds? What did he mention about avoid sins? Why does the risk comes first?
Is it because if someone has their rizq and he knows that it's obviously ordained by Allah, he's able to do all his other things? Is it not true?
It is there, but more common approach is that all of us are obsessed with money, isn't it true? Let's put it this way, right? If we have no jobs with COVID-19, we will be insane because we think that how to pay my bills, how to support how to pay my rent and all this. And this would affect our ability to have taqwa, isn't it true? And then because you think that, oh, okay, then any job comes, I must take, even though I have to what do you call it, deliver a non-halal meat, yeah, to the families, non-halal food, even the chicken or ducks and all this. Always remember, right? It's not just about eating. If you're delivering also non-halal food, right, it is also not allowed, right? And this is where you start the compromise. Well, I'm not eating anyways for other people to eat, right? And this is how it is. You fail to trust Allah. And that is why for me, when I analyze this, right, I say, oh, it's quite interesting. He put risk first because all of us, without any doubt, right, we are obsessed with money. For sure, right? Money is important, but we are over the top, excess, obsessed with money. I remember, I'm sure I may have told some of you, there was a period of my life where I wasn't working for almost 2 years, right? That was a big test, of course, right? But when you look at first of all, when is our risk determined?
In the wombs of our mothers.
Yes, it has already been determined, right? How many months were we in the mother's womb that Allah determined the risk?
6
the
months.
provisions. Sorry?
Is it 6 months? Or is it
No.
3 months? No?
So first 40 days, right, is a male and female fluid mixed. The next 40 days, the clot is formed. The next 40 days, then the muscles are formed, and these are the things when many things happen, right? The soul or the ruh will be put in the baby's body, right? And then what are the things that are determined? The risk, right? Provisions. And then what are the things?
Time of death.
Yep. Your lifespan. Next one.
Boy or girl.
No.
Oh, not that. Okay. Is it if he's gonna go Jannah or Jahannam?
Yes. The last one.
And if is it? Oh, I'm not sure about the last one.
Anybody can help? It's almost similar to the last thing that you said.
Oh, is it if he's gonna be rich or poor? Is it? Or
No. Whether he's going to do good or bad deeds.
yes. Okay, that's it.
Right. So rich or poor is going to be the risk, isn't it? There is there. So these are determined already. And if you understand about qadar, right, you would know what to do, right? And also there is a very nice example where this, I think it was Ali ibn Talib anhu, right, who had this camel with him, and he went to the mosque. In the meantime, he asked this person, take care of this camel, right? And he went to the mosque. I don't know, was Ali, I can't remember who. Might be Ali anhu. And the person, instead of taking care of the camel, he sold the camel for 2 dirham. Sold the camel, right? Big time fraud. Ali ibn Ali anhu, he was in the mosque. Who took quite a long time, and he said that, I take such a long time. I pity him. Let me give him 2 dirham for his effort. So technically, right, this person could have earned 2 dirham because it has already been determined he's going to earn 2 dirham, but he chose to do it in a haram way. Right, and this is quite important for us to understand this hadith about how things has already been planned for us. No matter how much you work, no matter how much you not work, right? You are sick and all this. Everything has been written down for you. How much you're going to earn for the month, right? By the way, this topic is for next week's topic, how to increase our risk. Inshallah, next week, I'm sure it's going to be full house. Inshallah. About our provisions, how to increase our risk. We're going to talk next week, inshallah. But this is how it is interesting that when you know, right, nobody else can take the risk away from you, then subhanallah, that you will, of course, brothers, you cannot just, oh Allah, increase my risk and you don't make the effort. Of course, you need to make the effort. But it is as it is, right? Allah will provide you with whatever provisions whom you or what that you deserve. Sometimes, remember in Surah Al-Kahf, when Allah did not provide a person with a lot of risk, that person ended up remembering Allah more than the person who was given everything, isn't it true? That does, when Allah gave you less risk compared to your other peers, other friends, that doesn't mean Allah do not love you, right? Perhaps Allah knew that if you were to give you more risk, you will want more things and you will forget Allah, right? Yeah, I remembered how I self-pitied myself, 2 years, no work, all right? It was quite testing, of course. Then I was wondering, what did I do in all this kind of things? So there's a lot of things, but in the hikmah behind that, in that 2 years of me not working, that was how I established steps of Allah, right? How I planned my time. I have more time. I went to courses, Islamic courses. I went to like Edinburgh for 10 days. I went to Birmingham and all this, attending all these courses in order to prepare for steps of Allah to be built up. And this is how it is. The alhamdulillah, I make full use of my time instead of moaning and moping and or taking things that are haram. Alhamdulillah, Allah guided me to develop something that is lasting, inshallah, right? Which would hopefully bring me the result that I want, inshallah, in the hereafter, which is Jannah to Firdaus. All right, and this is how it is. That when things happen that are not according to what you wish it is, first of all, of course, inspect yourself, right? Because again, I'll talk about next week. I'm talking about risk, right? There are some factors that may affect your risk. For example, if you are among those who enjoy ties of kinship, what is the result? Two things, right? What would happen if you enjoy ties of kinship? Brothers?
Allah won't answer your du'as, right?
If you enjoy ties of kinship, risk increase, lifespan increase, inshallah, right? In authentic hadith, right? In the first place, what is enjoining ties of kinship again? We discussed before a few times. Sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry, louder.
Tell me, what is enjoining ties of kinship? Farid? Farid? I can't hear you.
What was that? What was the...
What does enjoining ties of kinship means?
Well, you can't, like you have to, like you can't, like say, like stop talking to like relatives.
Oh, well, it's almost there,
Maintain
right?
relationship.
Because a lot of people think that, okay, I invite my cousin to my house or my sister to my house for dinner. She also invite me to house for dinner. People think that this enjoining ties of kinship. There's not. And joining ties of kinship means is when one party wanted to ignore you because of some issues, you are the one who continuously to pull back, right? Make sure that the relationship is continuous, and that is enjoying ties of kinship, right? And if you were to do this, subhanallah, it will increase your risk, right? Another factor, all this is going to discuss next week, inshallah, about regarding the talk about how to increase our risk. Your sins, yeah, the sins may affect the ability for your risk, right, to be increased, right? So many factors, inshallah, right? So this is important, right? So Hasan Al Basri was informing us, right, about the fact that the secret, one of the first secret of his piety, of his taqwa, is that he understood that risk, right, cannot be taken away by anyone. So you are contented. So that means whatever comes your way, you're contented, right? Always remember, right? It is usually we always, for example, buy things that we want, not buy things that we need. It's a lot different, right? Even though you have about 10 pairs of shoes, you have 10 pairs of trainers, you have all these clothing. Next year's sale, you buy again. It's all what you want, but do you really need this, right? So these are the things in which we should understand this, right? That whatever the circumstances is in terms of our risk, all right, everything comes from Allah, and it has been determined by Allah. That is why you and I, right, we need to, of course, I'm not saying, as I said, you just sit down, even though your pay is minimal, you just, alhamdulillah, but of course you need to work harder. But if you work hard enough without compromising the deen, and your risk it still not comes to Allah, alhamdulillah. Always think that other people are even worse than you. How many millions of people, not just millions, or how many tens of millions, even hundreds of millions of people have completely much less things than us? And we have to reflect upon this, right? And this is something that we do need to really understand the issues about Allah's provision. Just as the birds, what do the birds do? Every day they trust Allah. Isn't it true? That when they leave the nests every morning, they fly, they understood Allah will provide for them. They always come back to their own nest in the evening full. And this is how risk is, that Allah would provide the provision. He has the names. Yep. What are the names of Allah regarding to, for example, you want to increase your risk? What is the names that you can use? Inshallah.
Ar-Razaq.
Ar-Razaq. Yeah, the one who provides some more. Al-Fatah means the opener, isn't it true? Right, the one who opens up new ways or new venues or new avenues and all this, right? Other things?
Allah uses Al-Mateen or Razaq.
Yes.
The firm, isn't it?
Yes. Mateen is about to observe and to protect, isn't it true? Right?
Is it not being firm? Or is it? Or,
sorry?
Is it not being firm because he uses it with the name Al-Razaq?
It is. But I think there are more better names to use, right? Because we do need to, when Allah's names, we need to be more closely associated. I'm just about risk now, right? What else do you use in terms of Allah's names? You forgot one important thing.
Al-Mujib. Maybe?
Mujib, yes, is the one who answers your dua, isn't it true, right? Al-Karim, what's Al-Karim means?
Generous. Most generous.
Yeah, it's a generous one, right? And one of the most important is Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum, isn't it true? Right? These are the ones that will definitely attract a lot of attention from Allah. Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum, right? And even more, not more important, even equally important is Ya Rabb, Rabbi, Rabbana, right? And of course, Ya Allah. It covers everything, right? So don't forget about this, okay? So this is the first thing, right? If you understood the fact that whatever happens to you, I mean, for me personally, right? I'm self-employed, right? completely, because if I'm sure if you're employee, you will know, right? You every time, inshallah, you get from your boss the same pay. For us, a completely different from Allah. My clients, if I have no client, I have no risk. But for sure, alhamdulillah, inshallah, I know that Allah is going to provide me the clients. Right? And this is how it is, that you trust Allah. And the trusting Allah, tawakkul, is very important. Right? And this is where you leave the house every morning, you say, Bismillah, tawakkaltu ala Allah, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. In the name of Allah, I put my trust in Allah. Right? Wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Very important. There's no might and power except from Allah. When you know the meaning very well, and you feel it in the heart, it makes a lot of difference, brothers, rather than just say things because, oh, I'm not supposed to say this. You don't even know the meaning. But when you know it, it is huge. It plays a huge important part, right? And always remember, right, that we also need to ask Allah to keep us being contented with what Allah has given us. Isn't it true? Some people, right? Who was it? Well, some of the people, well, sorry to say this, right? Some people, even they have millions of pounds, they're still not contented. It's not enough. Right? How to maintain my families and all this, right? But some people, when they have enough, subhanAllah, they really appreciate Allah, right? I remember watching one of the videos of Tony Blair's sister-in-law. What's her name? Not Sherry Blair. Sherry Blair's sister, right? How she visited Palestine, right? And that was before she became a Muslim, and that attracted her to Islam. How she was so, when you see them, very poor, right? Not much food, but they have such a big smile, right? And when she expressed her sympathy for that what they don't have, she said, why are you showing pity to us? We are happy. And this is very important to understand this. Even when, and if Farid is still here, right, when we went to our village that we supported in Indonesia called Wonosari, they're so poor. They're so poor that they only eat meat once a year. And that once a year was also the meat that we provided in our Qurban, right? But when you see them, it's always smiling, expressing themselves, and they will always, and they, subhanAllah, and I was quite guilty, they served us food, which was a lot of chickens, which we do not need. I didn't ask for it, right? Chickens, fish, in which they would never get it. It's for guests. And this is how it is. It's about being contented. Yeah? Yes.
Can I mention, sorry, can I mention? Yeah, I was gonna say about this. Same before, for example, in Albania, let's say, like this 50 years or 100 years ago, in my granddad's time, or my father's time, when he was young. No one there, for example, they didn't have anything to eat. Maybe, they didn't have the best conditions in a way. They would work hard like this. Even if they had conflicts in family, there wouldn't be any divorce or any suicides, nothing like this, basically.
Yes.
Now, people, the more they have, the more you see them committing suicide and depression and this. Before, people would just go on with it, just like, it is what it is, and then just be happy.
Yeah.
They used to keep the ties of kinship so much. That's the thing, I think. The people were together before a lot. And
That you're not satisfied with Samsung 10, you must get the latest Samsung, right? And you spend thousands of pounds just to get the latest gadget, isn't it true? And this is how people are, right? We are never satisfied. But the true person with taqwa will not be like this, right? Will be satisfied with whatever things that comes to them because they trust Allah, right? That Allah knew, right? And I think in Surah number 42, if you look at this, right, in verse number 22, and this is when you read this, sometimes when you read the Quran, you need to really look into it. What does Allah mean by this, right? In 42, right, in verse number 27, right? وَلَوْ بَسَطَ اللَّهُ الرِّزْقَ لِعِبَادِهِ لَبَغَوْا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَلَكِنْ يُنَزِّلُ بِقَدَرٍ مَا يَشَاءُ إِنَّهُ بِعِبَادِهِ خَبِيرٌ بَصِيرٌ. And if Allah were to enlarge the provision for his slaves, they would surely rebel the earth. I repeat again the meaning. And if Allah were to enlarge the provision for his slaves, they would surely rebel in the earth. They would not obey Allah, right? But he sends down by measure as he wills. Verily, he is in respect of his slaves well acquainted, all-seer of the things that will benefit his slaves. And this is something that we do need to really understand. Don't compare our provisions to the rest, right? Just as long as we can, alhamdulillah, from Allah, we can feed our family. Most important thing for me is that earn our income in a halal way. This is most important, isn't it true? Always remember, brothers, after the questions on the Day of Judgment about the salah, we are surely going to be asked about 4 things, isn't it true? What we have done with our wealth, our health, our youth, and our knowledge, right? Wealth always comes first, and this is the most difficult, isn't it true? Every single P that comes in our account will be accountable for. Every single P that comes out of our account will be accountable for. Is it halal or is it haram? Okay, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us understand this, right? So that we are able to appreciate what Allah has given us, be contented with it, and increase our taqwa on the basis of that. If you know about this, then you would have taqwa. And this is one of the first secret that Hasan Al Basri was saying, right? The first secret was about risk, about provisions, right? That he knew nobody else can take his provision except it is from Allah, and he's contented with it, right? Let's do the second one. Right? We end, and then we do the next 2 another day, inshallah. Okay. I understood no one can do my action or my worship, so I started doing them myself. And it's quite important, right? Because you and I, right, we are responsible, each of us, for our own individual acts of worship. That is why, right, Allah is so merciful. He gave us, alhamdulillah, 1 whole month of Ramadan in order for us to achieve taqwa, for forgiveness, inshallah, right? For the Quran, to understand the Quran, for our guidance, inshallah. Then even after that, right, it's not finished yet, because He also awarded us a whole year of fasting in terms of reward for just 6 days, 6 days of Shawwal, 6 days, right? And this is where we do need to really ask ourselves, right? Is the reward of 1 year fasting, is it a lot? It's huge, right? And yet some people are wanting to leave out the 6 days of fasting. Remember, we still have time, inshallah, right? To complete the 6 days. I'm sure you have most of you have started, some you have finished, alhamdulillah. So do finish this, right? Because these are the deeds that for all of us to do. Nobody's going to do it for you, right? Remember, for example, in Surah number 18, we should recite in every Friday, in the last bit of Surah number 18, right? In the very last bit, Allah informed us, right? فَمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو لِقَاءَ رَبِّهِ فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا وَلَا يُشْرِكْ بِعِبَادَةِ رَبِّهِ أَحَدًا. Right? Which means whoever hopes for the meeting with his Rabb, first of all, let him work righteousness. And secondly, associate none as a partner in the worship of his Rabb. Right? So 2 things, right? Deeds. Second one, no shirk, tawheed. And this is the 2 things that is very important. And even we know, we discussed yesterday, when Imam Shafi'i said, if this were to be the only one that is going to be revealed in the Quran, is it sufficient for us? Wal asri, innal insana lafi khusr. By time, man is at a loss. Illa alladhina amanu, except those who believe, and wa'amilu salihat, and do good righteous deeds. Watawasaw bil haqq, and remind one another about the truth. Watawasaw bis sabr, and remind another about patience. Right? So this is it. This is very important that we understand this, right? That we don't need the deeds. Are the deeds for us, when we do the deeds, is it to enter Jannah? How do we enter Jannah? Is it by the deeds? I can't hear you, sorry.
Oh, by the mercy of Allah.
Yes. So we will enter Jannah only by Allah's mercy. I don't know how to remove this. Maybe you can help me to be irritating this. As if I'm in the jungle. But how? So what are the deeds for? Brothers.
It's for yourself.
I know, but for what purpose in the hereafter? Because entering Jannah, of course, with Allah's mercy, that means we try our best in our deeds. But what other things that the deeds will help, inshallah?
Is it to do with answering the questions? So, for example, we're going to be asked about like what we did with our youth, our health. Our
Yes,
money.
of course. Yes.
So
yeah.
it's evident of our actions.
Yeah, so when you are healthy, are you spending your time worshiping Allah? When you have money, do you spend use your money to go to Hajj or Umrah, or is it busy going to America, going to China for holidays? Isn't it true, right? So these are the things that is important. Also, our dressing on the Day of Judgment, right? All of us be dressed, right, according to the level of deeds, right? The more deeds we do that is accepted, inshallah, then it will we dress much better. Right. Another thing for the good deeds is, of course, for the al-mizan. What is al-mizan?
Skills.
Sorry?
Skills.
The scale of good deeds. How big is the scale of good deeds? How big is the scale? Do you know?
I know if you intend one, then if you intend one, it gets put as a one good deed, and then if you do
But
the
scale itself is huge. It's as much as the mountains and the heavens and the earth. That is how big the scale is, right? And this is how, inshallah, we do need to fill up the scales. Yeah. What is the heaviest on the scale of good deeds?
Allah.
La ilaha illallah. Make sure it's not just from the lips, right? From our actions, right? And from our heart and actions and words, of course, right? What are the things that after la ilaha illallah? What is the next heaviest? Good manners, isn't it true? Right? What are the things that heavy on the scale of good deeds? Brothers, two things that heavy, the light on the tongue, heavy on the scales. What are these? Subhanallah wa bihamdi and Subhanallah al-Azim. Right, these two things, right? So do moist your tongue with dhikr so that your deeds, again, this of course with meaning, that you understood what it means, right? Do moist your tongue with dhikr so that your skills are good. So after that, importance about the good deeds, inshallah, is the crossing sirat, isn't it true? Right? The more good deeds you have, what happened? First of all, two things: the light, right? And second one is the speed, right? Speed. Some people, as you know, will cross as fast as the lightning. Some as fast as a blinking of an eye, or you reach the other side, right? And the light, right? The more good is we have, the more light we have. What are the things? What is one of the best things that will make a lot of light on the Day of Judgment? What deeds can you do when you cross the Sirat?
Ustaz, could you repeat that again, please? I lost you there.
What is the deed that you can do which will enlarge your light? Okay, it's very bright. Because now we're going to talk about good deeds, isn't it true? Nobody, according to Hasan Al Basri, nobody can do good deeds except you, right? I can't recite the Quran for you. You have to do yourself, right? So what are the deeds that you can do in order to brighten the lights?
This is just an example that you've given me in the past. Say, for example, if you teach someone to read Arabic, every word that they read from the Quran.
No, this is not light. I'm talking about light.
Okay,
So is it gonna be Surah Al-Kahf then? The last,
Yeah,
the first
Surah Al-Kahf, isn't it true? Right? What is the reward? Brothers, I'm not testing you, no. This is supposed to, you need to know about this thing quite some time ago, and we did discuss a few times.
Does the light stay with you from one Jummah until the next?
Yeah, but that light means guidance.
Yeah.
Right? But there's another hadith that the light is from your house to the Kaaba. From your house to the Kaaba. And this is physical light. Right? What is it?
I'm going again.
Okay. So this is important for all of us to really understand this, right? Al-Kahf in Arabic, of course. So do work hard, inshallah, to improve your Arabic, right? So this is the sirat, right? Then after that, the deed, inshallah, will be required for the last stage will be your levels of Jannah. How many levels of Jannah?
But even if it was like 1 mark, 2 marks, it's all right. It's right.
Brother?
2019.
Whoa.
Or 21 now.
So when you got married?
Ah, well, 2017.
How many levels of Jannah?
You know what? I'm going to try one.
Nah, don't.
100 levels, isn't it true? Right? 100 levels of Jannah. Obviously, right? If somebody is waking up for tahajjud, if somebody is praying the sunnah prayers, especially the tahajjud prayer, if those who are feeding the poor, if doing many good deeds, right? Obviously, they will get a higher level compared to a person who is minimal in deeds. Isn't it true? All right, it's always the just, right? He's al-adl. He will reward us according to our deeds, of course, subhanallah, right? So do remember this, right? The more deeds we have, it will give us the higher level of Jannah, inshallah. Okay, any questions? Now, this topic is so interesting that I don't know why I couldn't finish it, but I think there's a lot of things to say, right? We're going to go through the other two things about what do you call it? Hasan Al Basri said about the secrets of piety or secrets of taqwa in the next lesson, inshallah, because it is so useful to have wordings of these, the TABI'EEN and the Sahaba, right? As I said, one day, inshallah, we're going to go in details according to the things that they say, because so much wisdom that they said in order to help you and I, of course, right? In order to achieve a level of understanding of the deen. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue, right, to guide all of us in the straight path. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to accept all our deeds, especially the deeds in the month of Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase our iman and taqwa. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase our knowledge and understanding of the deen. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant all of us Jannatul Firdaus. Subhanaka wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Don't forget your dua, inshallah, from 8:15 onwards, I think, right? 1 hour before Maghrib, for today's a Friday, right? Inshallah, no lessons this weekend. We see you, inshallah, I think next Friday, inshallah. Yeah, for our continuation of this talk, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah.